A tiger in the zoo. Hello, students. Today I'm going to explain the third poem of class 10, A Tiger in the Zoo. First of all, I will give you introduction of this poem. The poem gives a sharp contrast of a tiger. The poem provides a contrast in the mood and environment of a tiger when he is in the zoo and when he is in the forest, when it is in its natural habitat and when it is imprisoned. As this poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat, the poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and again back to the zoo. In the zoo, he has no freedom. He is kept in a cemented cell behind the bars. So, here, students, I will explain line wise explanation. There are 5 stanzas and each stanza contains 4 lines. I will not explain only the poem but also I tell you about the poetic devices and rhyming scheme of this poem. This poem contrasts a tiger in the zoo with the tiger in its natural habitat. I have said you before. The poem moves from the zoo to the jungle and back again to the zoo. Now read the poem silently once and say which stanzas speak about the tiger in the zoo and which one speak about the tiger in the jungle. So let's move towards the line. He stalks in his vivid stripes. The few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet trees. Here the line started from he. He stalks in his vivid stripes. He refers to the tiger, as generally we use it for animals, but here it's given he. It means it's the tiger is personified. So in the first line, he stalks. Here the poetic device is personification. He stalks in his vivid stripes. The tiger in the zoo walks in the limited space provided to it in the cage. It takes a few steps. There are strips on its body which are quite prominent. Its paws are soft like velvet. Here the word is given pads of velvet quite. Pads means claws here. And velvet, very soft material. Here the poet compares the claws of the tiger to the velvet. No noise is produced when it walks on its pads of velvet. The tiger is silent but in anger. Quiet means silent. In the cage, the tiger is quiet but he is in the anger. In his anger. Now student, let's move towards the second stanza. He should be lurking in shadow, sliding through long grass near the water hole where plump deer pass. The poet suggests that the cage is not the proper place for the tiger. It is not its natural habitat. Usually tigers are found sitting under long grass near a stream. Means in the first stanza the tiger is there inside the cage, and in the second stanza the poet suggests that the tiger is in the jungle, in the open areas. Said usually tigers are found sitting under long grass near a stream. Water hole. Water hole means here pool. Hole means pool or stream. Where plump deer pass. Plump means fat. Poet said that as soon as they see their prey, like deer coming, they slide silently through the grass and kill them. The poet wants to convey that the tiger should be there in the forest in its natural habitat. Now, next stanza, third stanza. He should be snarling, our silent bear, around houses, at the jungle's edge, bearing his wide fangs, his claws, terrorizing the village. The poet then gives another suggestion. What is the suggestion? That the tiger should be sitting at the jungle's edge, in close vicinity of a village. He should be terrorizing the people passing that way by its sharp teeth, baring its claws, and producing low sound of anger. Baring means showing, fangs means teeth. So baring his white fangs means by showing his white teeth. His claws by teeth and by claws he should be there terrorizing the village people. Its claws and producing low sound of anger. Now the next stanza, the fourth stanza. But he is locked in a concrete cell, his strength behind bars, stalking the length of his cage, ignoring visitors. Stalking means to move slowly, the first line also there. The poet now shows deep sympathy at the plight, at the unpleasant situation of the tiger that is imprisoned in a cell made of concrete. He cannot come out of the cell because strong bars are fixed. Thus, the poet says that the tiger's strength is locked behind the bars. He shows no interest in looking at the visitors. Rather, he keeps on stalking in anger in the limited space of the cage. Next stanza, students. He hears the last voice at night, the patrolling cars, and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. Finally, the poet takes the readers to the cage where the tiger is sitting in the cage and feeling unpleasant and restless. He hears the sound of the patrolling car of the zoo authorities. Patrolling cars means police car. He shows no interest in them as it's given and stares with his brilliant eyes at the brilliant stars. He shows no interest in them. He stares at the shining stars with his brilliant eyes. Finally, the poet raises a moral issue here. He intends to present a strong case against the cruelty. I hope you understood the explanation of the poem, students. Now let's move from the beginning. First stanza, I will tell you about the poetic device and rhyming scheme of this poem. First of all, the rhyming scheme. See, students, in the first line, he stalks in his vivid strips the few steps of his cage on pads of velvet quiet in his quiet age. As The rhyming scheme there in the first line strips, it will be A. Then second cage, cage is B. Quiet, there is no contrast with first or second line, so it will be C. Then in the fourth line last word is rage. Rage is similar as cage, so it will be B. So A, B, C, B. The rhyme scheme of this poem is A, B, C, B. See in the second stanza too. Shadow, grass, hole, pass. Shadow A, grass B, hole, difference of C, and pass same as grass, rhyming, so B. A, B, C, B. This is the rhyming scheme of this poem. Now, poetic device. In the first stanza, first things I'll tell you. He. He talks. Generally for animals we use it. But here it's given he. So the poet personified the tiger. Second thing, third line, on pads of velvet quiet. Pads of velvet. Pads means claws. Claws is compared to the velvet. And there is no as or like word. So it is metaphor. Directly, claws is called velvet. So it is called metaphor. And one more new figure of speech that I didn't give you in class 9. It's a strips cage. See the first line. Strips, he stalks in his vivid strips, the few strips of his cage. There is no full stop, no commas, nothing after at the time of changing the lines. So whenever such types of line you will get, there is no full stop or comma, then this is called enjambment. ENJAMBEMENT. enjambment. जब एक लाइन से दूसरी लाइन में बिना किसी स्टॉप, फुल स्टॉप, कॉमाज या किसी भी तरह के साइन के बिना ही आप दूसरे लाइन में प्रवेश करते हैं, देन इट इज कॉल्ड enjambment. Now second stanza. In second stanza, see the first line, second line to third line. Also there are no full stop or commas and it started the next line, so it will be enjambment. And the fourth line of the second stanza, plum deer pass. There is a repetition of P sound, plum pass. So here will be alliteration. In the third stanza, again first line to second line, enjambment, because there is no full stop commas in the first line. Next line, stanza 4. See the second line, his strength behind bars. Behind bar, B sound is repeated. So here will be alliteration. But you can say there is in the first line, concrete cell, CC is there. Just listen students. We will find out the alliteration with the sound, not with the letter. Here C for concrete, we pronounce it concrete, but C for CELL, we pronounce it cell. So sound is different, whether letter is same but sound is different, so alliteration will not be here. Last stanza, fifth stanza, he hears. He hears. In both S sound is there, so alliteration will be here. And in the third and fourth line, eyes at the brilliant stars, here will be enjambment. So students, I hope you understood the whole poem, explanation with poetic device. So, thank you, students, for this chapter. If any queries, you can ask through your comment queries. So in this way, poem third of class 10th, A Tiger in the Zoo by Leslie Norris is completed. Thank you, students.